Hello, I'm Lisa and this is Scene on 7 on WMtv. Here's Steve Brennan.
Hello and a warm welcome to this week's Scene on 7. My name is Steve Brennan and coming up in today's programme, do college students fare well at Brunel? Osteoporosis, the bare bones with Patricia Mitchell? Feeling shattered before Christmas? Well, relax with Brian Dunning at the Glass Market. Louise has details on this year's pantomimes. What's the best tree for your Christmas berry? Simon's here to help. And hands up if you'd like the brand new video from Right Said Fred. Now then, Brunel in Uxbridge is recognised as one of the leading learning centres in the country. They say that school days are the happiest days of your lives, but when things aren't going well, or a student has a particular problem, who do they turn to? Louise Sandilands and Susie Alsop tell us more.
Thanks, Steve. Over the next few months, we'll be looking at issues which interest and affect students in the WMtv area.
If you have anything you'd like us to cover, either specific to your own college or university, or a more general issue, then please write in and let us know.
Today we're looking at welfare services that are or should be provided by the Students' Union. To look at this, we came to Brunel University in Uxbridge to visit their Information and Advice Centre. I spoke to Helen West, who's the Research and Welfare Manager of the centre, to find out more about the service. Helen, what's the role of the Information and Advice Centre as part of the Students' Union?
I suppose the role is, well, the centre itself has very many different roles, and it depends on what students come here for and what they want the role to be. But fundamentally, the role of the Information and Advice Centre is as determined, like any service provided by the Students' Union, it is as determined by students who are registered at Brunel University. Currently, the kinds of many roles that the centre plays is in terms of a one-to-one advice centre, similar to a Citizens Advice Bureau, but for students. We employ 2 student advisors here. We also do have a research role, researching educational policy, so we'll be looking, for example, at the impact that the recent budget statement has had and will have on students, and providing information, briefings and documents for the student officers who are elected by the students to inform their campaigning work.
Do many students use the service?
Yeah, a lot of students use the service. Last October, the October just gone, we saw over 1,000 students, and that's out of a total student population of 5,000. So obviously 20% of students came through our door for a whole range of reasons. Some of them were very complicated, difficulties regarding money, late grants, problems with the landlord. Some of them just to come in and read the newspaper, or to just for some company sometimes. It's somewhere where they feel they can come and sit and not be hassled and have a break from their studies. Sometimes it's information, local information, to know what services are available, where they can get driving lessons from, a whole range of areas. And generally October obviously is the first month of the academic year, is particularly busy time for us. So the numbers do drop off through the year, but we're generally seeing about 700 students a month on average, I'd say.
What would your advice be to students who have similar problems to those that we've discussed?
Well, the first thing I think is for people not to feel sort of a sense of failure. There still is some kind of stigma. People feel that they're supposed to be able to cope, and quite honestly, I don't know how students do cope and how they do manage the little resources that are available to students. So there's no sense of shame about, suddenly finding that you haven't got enough money to live on, or that the course isn't right, because it might not be that the student is academically not up to it. It could be that there are things wrong with the course and that it's not been structured in an appropriate way. So I think the first thing is to know that there are places out there that are able to assist, and to find out what those services are. Certainly if a student doesn't know where the services are in their own institution, or whether their institution has a students' union even, then they could contact the National Union of Students, who obviously are aware of what student union facilities are available throughout the country.
I also spoke to Mandy Quayle, who's the Education and Welfare Officer, who was elected by the students in the summer. Mandy, how do you see your role in the Information and Advice Centre as an elected officer?
Well, it's divided down into several parts. One, I have political control, if you like, of the centre. I coordinate the campaigning work and the awareness work on the welfare issues, the educational issues, some training of students involved with welfare and education work. A lot of the literature we produce here, the articles that go to the paper, I have the final say-so, if you like, and therefore I'm responsible if there's any comeback from those sort of issues. Mm-hmm. I also have a large role as representing the individual students, because I am elected by the students to represent them to the university. I do a lot of work with individual students, be it on academic appeals if they fail their exams, a disciplinary work when students misbehave within the college. I'll represent them to the university. And as well as individual students on whole issues, providing a safe atmosphere on campus, be it providing reasonable accommodation. I will go to various committees, talk to various university officials, and push for that sort of thing. And then also I deal with individual issues for students within the union on the equal opportunities policy that we have on that sort of thing.
So you wouldn't agree with the government's plans to change the NUS?
No, I don't think, obviously not, because the government's legislation seems to be based on the fact that the NUS isn't necessary for the work of campus unions, amongst other things. And that the services that we provide can be divided into services that are vital and those services that aren't, and apparently NUS isn't vital and therefore shouldn't be paid for out of taxpayers' money. However, as I've said, so much of the work that we do here is supported by NUS, the research work, the training of the things that we do, the support of all the campaigning work that we do. Needs the NUS backup just from our point of view, and therefore we have to fight to keep NUS in position, so we can work effectively for our students as students.
Thanks, Mandy. So the message is, if you have the service, make sure that you use it, and if you don't, go to your student union and find out why. Louise?
Thanks, Susie. And next time we will be looking at campus safety. In future programmes, we will be having a What's On diary for student events throughout the WMtv area. For any college events in December, keep your eye on the Moving magazine. Don't forget to write in with any ideas you have. The address will be at the end of the programme, and remember to mark your envelope College News. Now back to you, Steve, in the studio.
Thank you, Louise. Now, 1 in 3 women over 50 years of age suffer from osteoporosis. Not enough is understood about this terrible disease, and to help, the Association of Retired Persons and the National Osteoporosis Society have jointly sponsored a campaign called Better Bones for Life. Patricia Mitchell has more details.
Osteoporosis is the name given to a bone disease that affects a staggering 1 in 3 women. In simplistic terms, osteoporosis leaves sufferers more prone to bone breakages. However, it goes on to cause discomfort, pain and disability. We're at Windsor Girls' School for a public meeting on osteoporosis, where we hope to discover how you can prevent osteoporosis and what you can do if you're suffering with osteoporosis. Do you know much about osteoporosis?
No, I don't. Not at all.
Perhaps you could tell us why you came along this evening to the meeting.
Because I think it's something which may affect me in the next few years or in 10 years' time.
How much do you already know about osteoporosis?
Very little, except that it affects elderly ladies.
What is it about osteoporosis that you'd like to know more about?
Well, I have to tell me I'm shrinking. so I'd like to know why.
Joan Everett, you're the chairperson of the North West Surrey National Osteoporosis Society. Perhaps you can tell me a little bit about what you do.
Well, we formed a group in the North West Surrey area, centred around St Peter's Hospital, and we have meetings. We're a support group, We create awareness in the area.
And what kind of support can you offer osteoporosis sufferers?
Well, the National Osteoporosis Society offers sufferers support through the mail and a telephone helpline. We have a telephone helpline which also helps sufferers, and we give advice. We have meetings monthly to which sufferers come to. They bring their families, and it's a matter of creating awareness in the community and among the medical profession also.
Dr. Hall, a staggering 1 in 3 women suffer from osteoporosis. Perhaps you could tell us a little bit about what osteoporosis is in layman's terms.
Right, yes. It's a very common condition which affects the bones, and what happens is that they become thinner or more brittle than normal, and therefore they fracture much more easily than normal.
Why does this cause a problem?
Well, mainly in the early stages it doesn't cause a problem at all, but of course the end result of that is that people get fractures. They fall over in the snow, often in the winter, break an arm, but more than that they can have fractures of the spine or the hip, and that can really cause a lot of problems.
Is it pain and discomfort, or is it disability as well that it ultimately causes?
It can cause all. Certainly for the wrist fracture, that's a nuisance, but that will heal. And the thing with the spine fractures is that can cause a great deal of discomfort and pain. More than that, it can also, in the later stages, cause quite a lot of deformity. But
Right.
the worrying thing, of course, is for the hip fractures, where certainly there's a distinct possibility that people could die after sustaining a very bad hip fracture, and they may not return to their full mobility afterwards, which can be a real nuisance.
So it is really very serious.
It can be, yes. Not for everybody by any means, but it can be a disabling problem.
Right, are there any early warning signs, or are there any indicators that people can look out for osteoporosis?
Yes, there are. Often people will not be aware of anything, but there are certain risk factors or things to take into account. For example, if you had a very early menopause, that is certainly something which will predispose to fractures later on in life.
What about treatment for or prevention of osteoporosis? I gather that you can actually prevent osteoporosis.
Yes.
How can you do that?
Well, indeed, things have changed a lot over the last few years, and a lot of work has been done now. Certain very simple things can be done to prevent it. You can alter your lifestyle. Now, that's hard to do, but it can work very effectively. For example, alcohol is actually directly poison to bone cells. But if you moderate the amount of alcohol, that's much better. Similarly, if you cut down the amount you smoke, take regular weight-bearing exercise, just very practical things like that, they can all help towards preventing osteoporosis.
Jane, you're an osteoporosis sufferer. Can you tell me how you became diagnosed with osteoporosis?
I've been suffering from back pain for a number of years, and eventually I asked my doctor if I could have an X-ray done. And when the X-ray was returned, it showed the loss of bone mass in my spine. And so he then referred me to a specialist, and after several years they finally told me that it was actually osteoporosis, but at that particular time there was no treatment.
I gather you're under treatment at the moment. Can you tell me what that is?
I was referred to a doctor in London who was specialising in research in osteoporosis, and he treated me for 3 years with Didronol, and there has been an improvement in my spine in that time. But my hip has improved, but not a great deal.
So, having been diagnosed for osteoporosis, do you consider that your actual state of health is better now, having taken some treatment?
Yes, a lot better than it was before.
Osteoporosis is clearly something that affects all women. If you're concerned about osteoporosis, you can contact your doctor or the National Osteoporosis Society. But before you men get too complacent about it, it affects 1 in 20 men too.
Thank you, Bubba. If you would like to contact the Association of Retired Persons, their telephone number is 091 828 0500. And the National Osteoporosis Society can be found on 0761 432 472. Both numbers are available on the Moving Magazine. That's our information-packed service for you 24 hours a day. Now, it's said that there's no such thing as a free lunch. Well, I know different. The Royal Borough of Windsor and Maidenhead have 45,672 cans of stewed beef. Anyone receiving income support, family credit or disability working allowance is eligible to receive up to 4 cans each, absolutely free. The distribution centres will be open from the 17th of December between 10 in the morning and 4 in the afternoon. Posters displaying their whereabouts are all over the Royal Borough, with locations and details also available in the local press. So, why not claim your free cans if you're entitled? And I also have to say well done to the Royal Borough of Windsor and Maidenhead for applying to the European Surplus Food Scheme. 45,672 cans are yours, and they are free. I'll be back in just a moment with a very special update on 7.
Power. Power. Electrical installations for your working environment. Controls. Control systems for air conditioning, heating and ventilation. Communications. Communications for voice and data networks. Power, controls, communications from concept to completion. Think Pensdown on 0474 853 222.
Welcome back. Here's Steve Brennan.
Welcome back. Every year at Christmas we're reminded by a chilling commercial about drinking and driving. This year's campaign is just as frightening, but for very good reason. To try and clarify a few points about this very serious subject, I'm joined by a familiar face to WMtv regulars. From Ashford Police Station, Inspector Bob Owen. Bob, welcome to the studio. Nice to see you. Are we winning the war against drinking and driving?
Yes, we are. It's the lowest it has been for many years, but we accept that, you know, one is too many, so our aim is to get it absolutely down to 0. So we're going to try and do that again this year by having a campaign starting in the Metropolitan Police on the 19th of December. But that's not to forget that the campaign goes all year round.
Right. In Hillingdon Borough, in particular, I've read some details that over 300 people were stopped last week alone, and 6 of them tested positive. Is that a fair ratio? Is that an accurate percentage?
It varies from area to area, and it varies on the time of year that we do it. Statistics show that the closer we get to Christmas, the easier it is for people to have more drink, the more tempted they are, and statistically the numbers get a little bit higher. But as I say, it varies all year round.
Obviously the safe limit, if there is one, is 0. Don't drink and drive at all. What are your thoughts on that? Would you like to see the 0 limit introduced?
I know the Roads Minister has introduced it in Parliament as an open gambit to introduce it down to 0. We currently run on 80 at the moment, so if anybody's brought into the police station, it can be a little bit confusing from a statistic point of view. On the line intoximeter and what you're tested, if you actually look at the printout, when it says 40, that's what we apply it to. But yes, we'd like to see it come a little bit lower because everybody's different in the way that they react to alcohol.
So, for example, if a large man has a pint and a half of beer, or a small woman has a pint and a half of beer, the level of alcohol in their blood will be that much higher in the small woman?
Yes, from personal experience, I've dealt with a very large chap who was over 20 stone, who'd had quite a few whiskies, who blew underneath the limit. And equally, I've dealt with a very young lady who was very petite at just on about 7 stone, who'd had 2 glasses of wine, and she was well over the limit. It depends on a lot of things, not only your body weight, but your metabolism, the way you react to alcohol, the amount of food that you've had, an enormous amount of things. It's unpredictable to an individual what their limit will be.
Every year the Christmas commercial obviously assists you with your responsibilities in stopping people from drinking and driving. Do you think that the increased number of patrol cars and sort of greater police visibility is what helps as well?
Yes, our main thrust is prevention. We're not there to actually chase people around. We try and get the first message across is it's Christmas, drinking and driving is, you know, a very serious crime. It's a very selfish crime, and we'd like to prevent people from doing it. And the Department of Transport campaign that we're all seeing on television at the moment is one of the first lines against it.
How many officers work right through Christmas to assist you with that, normally? Let's say, for argument's sake, at your station, as against a normal week.
We still maintain the same level of police officers on. They're directed, though, to concentrate more on drink-drive during the campaign just running up before Christmas. Additionally, all the traffic officers you see out, those are the chaps who wear white hats on top, their key targets are drink drivers, so they're out there to get you, I'm afraid.
Well, let's hope you have a very quiet Christmas in that respect, and a very happy one to you and your family and all your officers at Ashford Station. Thanks very much, Bob.
Thanks very much indeed.
Thank you.
So where is your David, then?
I've told you. He stopped for a quick drink at his sister's. He'll be here soon.
Well, he's missed it, then.
David, yes, that's my boyfriend.
Hopefully by now, most of you will have the Christmas shopping done, but if you're stuck for a present for someone in particular, you might consider one of the hundreds of items made at the glass market. Here's Brian Dunning.
Brian Dunning, out and about for WMtv, visiting places of interest in and around the Thames Valley. Today we're in the Chiltern Hills, just to the west of Beaconsfield, and behind me is a converted 17th century barn, which is the home of the glass market, where the arts, crafts and skills of the centuries-old decorative glass industry are still practiced today. Within this massive barn we will find the widest collection of stained and patterned glass which is available in the UK. And it is there to provide the raw material for the designers, artists and craftsmen who create and manufacture some of the most spectacular stained glass windows that are produced today. We will find their work illuminating churches, mosques, synagogues, temples, in public buildings, hospitals, schools, and more recently, a revival for use of stained glass in the home. Also, we'll be taking a look at that most dramatic of glass arts, glass blowing, where everyday objects are created from a single bulb of molten glass. Glass is a fascinating medium which has captured the hearts and minds of artists over the centuries. The latest being Jerry Paxten, the man who gave up a prospering career in the city to start the glass market. Jerry, what was the appeal of glass that made up everything and start here?
Well, I suppose, firstly, I was getting somewhat tired of a routine job, and I felt my creative side wasn't being satisfied. And I suppose my second interest was always art, craft, and glass. So it was on one of my regular visits to the United States. I had a look around and found that they were enjoying a huge revival in stained glass. And I asked a lot of questions and found out that it was quite easy to bring about, provided you made courses available for beginners. And secondly, you created a mini supermarket for suppliers. So I did just that over here. It was quite new and startling to a lot of people. And then one day, it all took off when a television show took it on. And suddenly the phone never stopped ringing. It seemed for about 3 or 4 years. People say, how do I learn stained glass? And that's how it all started, really.
You've got the widest range of glass in the country.
Yes, we're told we have. It's taken quite a few years to track it down because, bearing in mind, we've only had one quite small producer in this country in the past. So I went abroad and I visited Germany and France and America, and I have now imported and stock 500 or 600 different types of colored glass. And this, of course, gives the artist and indeed the hobbyist an enormous choice which they've never had before.
Now, the average man in the street will only know 6mm glass, 4mm glass and float mill glass. So what can you offer that we can't get in the glass shop in the high street?
Well, it is a speciality glass that I stock. It's decorative glass, if you like. It's mostly coloured. It's made in a rather special way, and it's, as I say, very little of that is made in this country.
Where does the glass come from, and why do we have to import it?
Well, I think the reason is that the market in America is obviously so much bigger than it is here. So that encouraged something like 20 glass companies to be created overnight, almost, to start making different types of coloured glass. A lot of them are copies of some of Tiffany's original glasses, and I'll show you these a bit later on.
Now, if England and Europe is the home of stained glass, these magnificent windows we see in churches, why do we have to import it now from places like America?
It's mainly, I think, because of the demand. I mean, the real demand, the real large market has started in America, so that's where they started to make glass. The market is increasing over here, and in fact, you know, there's, I think, hopefully, there's a mini boom ahead for stained glass, but it hasn't encouraged other people to start making that glass in this country.
So is glass making a lost skill to the Brits?
No, lost skill. In fact, we like to think we started it all. Going back to, well, before medieval times, I mean, we were, of course, in many ways, the creators of stained glass as we know it in our old churches and cathedrals. Simultaneously, there was a sort of lively movement going on in the rest of Europe, especially in Germany, southern Germany. And it's been that way ever since. We are regarded very highly, I think, as skilled technicians in stained glass around the world. So what we do, the process of designing and making a stained glass window is something like this. We will take a brief from the client, and then we will submit a watercolor sketch to the client, which is our interpretation of what they want. And then we cut the glass on top of what we call a cut line drawing, which is a working drawing which we're going to use throughout the manufacturing process. All the glass, you must remember, is cut by hand, so there's no quick way to producing a stained glass window. It's cut the same way that it's been cut for hundreds of years. The glass then is assembled by using lead cames, and we use cames like this, which is a wider cane for the border, and a narrower cane which we use for the center of the panels. Lead is used because obviously it's very flexible and can go around tight corners. After it's leaded, we need to solder the joints, and then having soldered the joints on both sides, then the window must be sealed by putting black putty between the lead and the glass. Then finally the lead must be made black by using good old-fashioned grape polish, which we rub into the lead cames, and then the window is ready for installation.
If you walk down the average road in suburbia, you're more likely to find double glazing than a stained glass panel. So who actually orders the stained glass panels from you?
Well, I think one of the reasons for the current revival is that double glazing has had its day. And I think people are preferring instead to have some colour, some design in the windows, especially those people who maybe have a Victorian, Edwardian house, realising that they're missing a lot by not having some of the stained glass windows that were in there originally. So we're getting a lot of that from people who are wanting to, not only with glass, but maybe some of their interior decor, are putting more attention into putting their houses back to where they were. Other people who are maybe building additions to their houses are thinking of having a stained glass window to make it a feature. For example, landing windows are wonderful feature windows. Halfway up the stairs, it is in a way a very central feature of a house. And the other thing is, I think that when I give a quotation, I think it's fair to say that most people are pleasantly surprised. I think there's been, because of the mystery of the past, I think a lot of people have imagined that it was out of their reach to have one, but in fact, it's not all that expensive.
Has anybody ever come to you with a request for a different use for a stained glass panel, or an etched glass, or painted glass?
Yes, of course. I mean, there are many, many different end uses for stained glass panels. They can be used very effectively as room dividers, roof lights, signs, backlit.
I also believe you've been doing some unusual commission work recently in design for the bathroom industry.
Yes, we're now looking at the etched glass effect, and we've developed a range of shower screens which are surrounded with hardwood, and I think these are going to be very suitable for, especially for the Victorian Edwardian type house, which has Victorian bathroom fittings, for example.
We've talked about the design and preparation of stained glass and its various uses, but can the ordinary person in the street pick it up as a skill, and if so, how long would it take?
Well, we've run popular weekend beginners courses for about 10 years, and this enables somebody to take it up firstly as a hobby, but very many of those very often go on to make a little business out of it. In other words, over a weekend we teach somebody enough of the basic skills to be able to sort of take it from there. Clearly there are several more months, if not years perhaps, until you can tackle every aspect of stained glass. But it's a very interesting hobby. It doesn't cost very much, for example, to get started. It doesn't take up much space. And we run these courses here about every 6 weeks.
Now, archaeologists would have us believe that glass blowing has been around for the past 5,000 years. Has the process changed much in that time?
No, very little, in fact. Rather like stained glass, we still use the same principles, and the tools are very much as they were. It starts with molten glass in a furnace, and we use now a pellet, a glass pellet, which we fill the furnace with at night time and charge it so that the following morning it's ready to use. And the glass we use is 24% lead crystal, which is a very high quality glass. Crystal is also used because it's very brilliant and it's softer, so that we can also decorate it by engraving, for example, sandblasting. Having melted the glass in our furnace, which is done overnight, as I say, then the process starts by the glass maker gathering a small amount of glass on the end of the blowing iron, shaping it on the marver or table, and then adding colour to it at this stage. We have colour added by adding such things as powdered glass or glass grains, or sometimes we cut coloured rod into slices and add colour that way. And then we coat that with another outer layer of molten glass, and the glassmaker will then start to shape it. And when they've shaped the bottom of it, another iron is used with a small amount of molten glass on it, and it's stuck on the bottom of this object, so that then that can be broken off, tapped away, so that the maker can then work on the shape of the top. And when that's finished, it's tapped on the bottom, scored with a file or a blade, and then broken away free and put into a leer or an oven to be there overnight, brought down very, very slowly, and taken out the following morning. We put it in an oven because after it's being made, it's full of stresses. So it must be released of these stresses gently and in a controlled way overnight.
What do you make with blown glass?
There are almost no limits to what we can make. We concentrate a great deal here on making coloured glass objects like perfume bottles and paperweights, bowls, vases. We also handle one-off commissions. For example, if somebody wants a rather special wedding present, we'll design and make something for them. We'll also do corporate work. For example, several companies get us to design and make a range of paperweights or plates which they can use as presentation items.
Having a long steel metal tube with molten glass on the end and swirling it around, is it really safe?
Well, you've got to bear in mind that these glass makers have had a 5-year apprenticeship, essentially. They've all obtained degrees in glass design and technology from a college, university somewhere. And then they've followed that with 2 years apprenticeship, very often here, by acting as an assistant to a master blower. And then they're ready to go on their own. So there's a great deal of experience under their belt before they launch forth on their own. Having said that, though, we do have one-day glass blowing experiences, which we started this year, and they're turning out to be a lot of fun. It's for the person who, for example, said, I've always wanted to have a go at that. So we thought we'd have a small group of people, and it's turning out to be a lot of fun, and obviously tightly controlled. Somebody can go away at the end of the day having made a little paperweight or a little vase, albeit not very accurately, but I think they're very proud of it at the end of the day.
Thank you, Brian. Some interesting uses of glass there. If you would like to visit the glass market in person, then please do so. They'd be delighted to welcome you. Or you can telephone them for details of opening times on 0494 671 033. That's 0494 671 033. More details on the Moving Magazine. Time for a break now. Back soon, and still to come, the new video from Right Said Fred.
Whatever you're looking for to furnish your home, look no further than the Within our giant store on the Bath Road, Sippenham, the choice just has to be seen to be believed. Just look at the names we have under one roof. And with interest-free credit on some items, this is the ideal place. Whatever your taste, whatever your style, there's only one place to come. 388 to 389 Bath Road, just off Junction 7. It's the ideal Superstore.
Now back to the studio with Scene on 7.
Welcome back. It's that time of year when, in theatrical terms, girls are principal boys, men are dames, and a lot of thighs are slapped. On that subject, here's Louise Johnson's pantomime review.
Well, it's coming up to my favourite time of year again, that magical time when we all try to catch a glimpse of Santa and his reindeer, and the cast of Neighbours disappears and pops up in, you guessed it, pantomime. Kicking off in the hot seat is the Maidenhead Drama Guild. Maidenhead Drama Guild presents Santa in Space, a Christmas pantomime adventure by Paul Reeks at Desborough Suite on Friday the 10th of December at 7:30 to Saturday the 11th of December at 10:30, 2:30 and 7 p.m. Russ McCall, who plays Ulrich in BBC's TV series The Borrowers, takes the stage at the Novella Theatre Sunning Hill until January the 29th as Troublesome Edmund in The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, C.S. Lewis's magical tale which follows Peter, Susan, Edmund and Lucy through the world of Narnia.
Next we have the Starlight Theatre Company, who put on their production of Puss in Boots at Datchet Hall, Datchet, from January the 27th to January the 29th. They're also looking for singers to join the Starlight Singers, who accompany the principal characters and chorus and also sit with the musicians. They also want dancers and a monster, so if you fancy your chances at going in this year to the pantomime, give Yvonne Dixon a ring, and number will be presented at the end of the programme. With the re-release of the children's classic Aladdin, it's been a very popular choice for the Theatre Royal Windsor and also the Wycombe Swan High Wycombe. The Theatre Royal's version begins on the 10th of December and runs until the 15th of January. The cast is led by John Challis, aka Boise and Only Fools and Horses, who plays magician Abanazar. Brian Burden, a great favourite with the Theatre Royal, who usually plays the Dame, and incidentally has played the Dame for the past 20 years, is playing Aladdin's mum, Widow Twankey, this year. And Philip Hawthorne, the much-loved children's presenter, stars as Wishy Washy. Directed by Mark Piper with designs by Alexander McPherson and choreography by Hazel G, it makes sure it's not to be missed. Tickets from the box office on 0753 853 888. And last but by no means least, the Wycombe Swan, one of my very favourite theatres, are also putting on Aladdin. The show stars Radio 1's Simon Bates as Abanazar and Sita Indrani from the Bill as Aladdin. Also appearing are Zippy, Bungle, Geoffrey and the very, very sweet George, and it starts the 11th of December and goes on to the 15th of January. Tickets available from the box office, and I'm sure you'll agree that David Lee Productions Limited and Hetherington Seelig Theatres Limited put on an excellent pantomime. And now we have a competition for you. Theatre Royal have very kindly given us 2 free tickets to see the pantomime Aladdin. But as usual, you have to answer a question, which is, who is playing the Dame in the Theatre Royal's version of Aladdin this year? I'll repeat that. Who is playing the Dame in a Theatre Royal's version of Aladdin this year? Answers, please, to Scene on 7, WMTV, PO Box 7, Slough, SL3 6ET. That's Scene on 7, WMTV, PO Box 7, Slough, SL3 6ET, and the address will be available again at the end of the programme. For further information on all the pantomimes and for ticket and venue details, please refer to the Moving Magazine and watch out for a Christmas special on The Wizard of Oz performed by Slough Musical Theatre Company. Also, if you know of any other pantomimes which you would like to let viewers know about, write to the address given at the end of the programme. And finally, very, very finally, just to let you know about that I wasn't lying about pantomime and the cast of Neighbours and incidentally Home and Away, we have this article which actually appeared in the Mail on Sunday last weekend, and there's about 9 or 10 people that are appearing in pantomime from Neighbours. So, Neighbours, give the English a chance, please. Anyway, I'm sure we all love to see them. Thank you very much and see you next year. Have a good Christmas and New Year, everybody. Bye.
And a Merry Christmas to you too, Louise. Thanks again. I must get along to a panto, actually. Haven't been for years. And if you'd like to send me a couple of tickets, I'd be very grateful. Now, we've searched high and low for the very best Christmas decorations, the best in Christmas entertainment, and the best Christmas tree. Put those 3 together, and what have you got? You've guessed it. Here's Simon Brand.
More like it. Welcome to WMTV, and we're at Bloomingdale's Garden Centre, no less, and I've come along to pick the Channel Christmas tree, no less. I've actually been entrusted with that, and with me is David Hazell, the plants manager here at Bloomingdale's Garden Centre. Welcome to Scene on 7, David. Thank you very much for joining me on this very cold evening.
That's all right.
What makes a good Christmas tree?
Good Christmas tree, basically, is one that's got a nice shape to it. When people are choosing their tree, you want to get it out in the open and turn it around. And it's a nice shape, like this one. Plenty of branches, plenty of greenery, plenty of needles. They've got themselves a good tree.
This is a Norway spruce?
This is a Norway spruce, probably the best-selling tree.
What tips have you got to keep these pine needles on? Is there anything you can do?
The majority of the trees nowadays are treated anyway, although the Norway spruce will drop their needles very quickly, especially against the radiator. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. You will get some needle drop, as I say. There's nothing to worry about.
This is a 6-foot tree. How much would this set me back?
On average, it'd be about £12, £13. That's a good average price.
Where would this tree likely to have come from?
Probably Norway.
Really?
Or Denmark.
I mean,
Yes.
would they be farmed there?
There'd be farms there. We grow plenty in this country, in the north of England and Scotland, but the majority of Christmas trees these days are from Europe.
And how old's this one likely to be?
That would probably be about 10 years old.
10 years. Another Christmas tree. This one is a
Nordmanii.
Nordmanii. And where's this from?
Norway.
With the tree that we saw earlier, the Norway spruce, you've actually got stands, haven't you, that you can get for around about £10.
Yeah, it's about £10.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, it's a lot easier than
it is a lot
finding
easier
sand and a couple of bricks to...
That's right. You should be able to put it out within half an hour.
Right. Well, thank you very much indeed for spending time out to give us a bit of advice on the Christmas trees. I think before we go, a lot of trees are sold to you in bundle form. They're wrapped up in netting. One good thing, tip that I can mention is when you actually undo that bundle, make sure you keep your eyes away from the branches as it pings open. There's something like 1,000 people visiting casualty departments over Christmas because of that. So we're now about to go inside and hopefully have a look at one or two decorations along with Valerie Brown, who's one of the managers here at Bloomingdale's, and we'll see you in there shortly. You join us inside the Bloomingdale's Garden Centre in their Christmas display, and Valerie Brown's very kindly agreed to take time out to actually run through some tips for Christmas, for decorating Christmas trees, so on and so forth. Thank you very much for taking time out, Valerie, to join us on Scene on 7. Before I go into the Christmas decorations of May, earlier I made a comment about a Christmas tree stand. This is one of the Christmas tree stands. It will set you back about £10, and all you need to do is trim off the bottom branches of the Christmas tree. In it goes, you adjust the screws, and hopefully your Christmas tree will stay up until the new year, hopefully. Valerie, nostalgia, that's a word that's coming back more and more. What nostalgic decorations do we have?
Well, they've Noma Lights brought out these lights that anybody of my age group will remember on their Christmas trees years ago.
So, I mean, they are, as my mum would remember, Christmas trees.
Yeah, that's right, yes.
So, are there any other decorations that...
yes, well, I mean, if you want to continue the nostalgic theme, then you tend to go for the shiny, flame-coloured baubles, or you can have the ones with the cutouts with a little pattern inside, and then the shiny tinsel.
What colour is the most popular these days?
Tend to be red and gold, really, and then you can add greens and blues and other colours.
Are there any themes that people take on for Christmas?
Well, yes. I mean, nowadays you can have anything you want. There's pinks, pastels, dual colours, woodland things. If you want to go very green and have cones and twigs and things like that on your trees.
What about children? Are there any decorations?
Yes, we've got Baby's First Christmas.
Oh, right.
A little for grandmothers to
Teddy
buy
bear.
for their grandchildren. A little teddy bear there that hangs on.
These are all around about £1, aren't they? Or
yes,
a bit more than
that one is a little bit more expensive. Yes, I mean there's almost family heirlooms. And you have little baskets there that you can always pop sweets or...
I think most people are prepared to invest though in decorations, aren't they? Because they know
yes,
they can
last.
wheel them
I
mean, year in, year out.
I know a lot of people have sometimes got the ones that they've had right from the
That's
word
right.
go. I know I have.
Until the dog decides
That's
to
right, yes.
grab that decoration off the tree and have a good old chew on it. Valerie, thank you very much indeed for allowing us to come into Bloomingdale's, and Merry Christmas to you and all your staff.
Thank you.
Well, I trust you've enjoyed the sights and sounds of Bloomingdale's Garden Centre. Why not pop along yourself and take a look? They're just off the Staines Road near Laleham. Before we go, may I thank Neil and Valerie Brown and also David for taking time out to look after us today. Merry Christmas to all of you, and it's now back to Steve in the studio.
Thank you, Simon. I'm not sure it's a good idea letting Simon loose on those tractors, though. Now, Slough Borough Council's Community Services Department will be holding a plant sale at the Central Nursery in Wexham Road in Slough on Sunday, the 19th of December. That's from 10 in the morning until 3 in the afternoon, and items for sale will include trees, shrubs and pot plants, as well as Christmas trees. Everyone is welcome to attend, and free car parking will be available throughout the day. Now, we were hoping to have Right Said Fred in the studio with us today, but as you can see, they're not here. They're very busy. They're at the hairdressers, I think, or somewhere else. Despite that, we love them, and just to prove it, here's the new video from Right Said Fred.
Stop for what? Hands up for lovers, feeling good beneath the covers. Mom and dad, sister, brothers, free the world. Hands up for lovers, feeling good beneath the covers. From the tip of your tongue, you free the world. Hands up for lovers, get your hands up. Get your hands up.
What can I say? They're just brilliant. Right Said Fred and their brand new single, Hands Up for Lovers. Hope you enjoyed it. Now, next week it's the Christmas extravaganza, and literally anything could happen. But that's about it for this week. If you'd like any more details of any of the items contained in this week's programme, do not forget the Moving Magazine is available to you 24 hours a day on Channel 7. If you'd like to write to us, please do so. The address is Scene on 7, WMTV, P.O. Box 7, Slough, SL3 6ET. That's your lot for this week. Don't forget next week, the Christmas programme. For WMTV, I'm Steve Brennan. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.